Hi, I'm Lou Rosalie, and this is Crew Call. The gig wraps up and everyone went home, and you're feeling totally lost and alone. So now what? We'll discuss that, and also we'll discuss the influence and effects of noise on your job performance in this week's Crew Call. And our noisemakers for this week, production, frontline, media, and entertainment professionals. I'm going to start with Scott Glozzi. Scott, welcome, buddy. Mr.
Thank
Frank
you for having me.
Scacciaferro, welcome, Frank.
Hey.
And Joe Scacciaferro, welcome, Joe. Scott, what kind of hat is that you're tipping there?
Top of the morning to you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my new Columbia hat. You know, you got to wear dark colors on set. So.
Yeah. I hear you. So the two topics I got today was I read an article from this mentalist who's really a great magician and showman. He's a British guy. His name is Darren Brown. And the article was written from the perspective of the stage manager. And the stage manager was discussing how empathetic Darren was, because they did a show over 3 or 4 days. And he came at the end of the show, got everybody together, and just kind of gave a little bit of closure to the end of the gig. And they thought that was really cool, having the talent come out and say, thank you so much. I really loved everybody and what we did, and we had a great time. So that made me think about what happens when these things are done. Because you guys storm in, create this battle unit, get stuff done, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay. And that's where I want to go. Joe, as executive producer and producer, you lead teams into battle. Like I said, bonds are made, people become friends, good things happen, bad things happen, cohesion forms, and then it's over. What happens? What's that like? Explain that experience, because it's unique.
Yeah, it is, and it takes a bit to get used to, because for the most part, and especially, you're doing a one-out show, it's not really the same. But if you're on the road, or you're on location, or in music, if you're on a tour, you're literally living with, that band of people. And you do. Everything you just said absolutely does happen. You become very cohesive. You become very close. You become family.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last night of the last show, you strike and you leave. There's those moments. There's the after party, and there's the rap party, and there's all of that. But in the end, you disappear, and you don't see those people the next day, and you might not see those people for years or ever. So can I give you one story before you roll around the room?
Yeah, of course.
Because it really is, it remains the absolute typical. It was the first Super Bowl run I had ever done. It was in 2000. We were on the road for 2 weeks on location, doing show after show after show. And I had, a couple of interns that I was able to bring with me. They became production assistants. And it was their first time. I mean, it was amazing. You're on the road, the biggest show in maybe the world, and blah, 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 blah. And you're going through it. And when we came back, we dropped the gear, we loaded out, and we all stood there. The rest of us are veterans. We know what the deal is. And we all went, all right, I'll see you. And we left. We started walking away. And I turn around, and this one guy, Pat Capra, he's now a big-time agent. He's a great guy. We love him to death. Hey, Pat. So Pat was standing in the middle of the concourse. And I saw him looking around. I turned around and I said, what's up? He goes, well, what do we do now?
Yeah.
When am I going to see you guys again? I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
He said, you got to go home. And he just stood there. I mean, he was completely dumbfounded. Yeah. And that's when I realized, oh, shit, if you don't do this, you don't know that this is the weird part of the gig, of one of the many. So I just wanted to drop that story because it definitely focuses what happens if you're not used to this.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it is a weird part of the gig, especially if you've never done it, as you said. Frank, do you have any observations about how long it takes to get the feeling of cohesion or cohesiveness of being a team versus being an individual working on a gig? What's that transformation like?
It definitely varies from gig to gig, but if you're on something like, I mean, I'll use the example only because I just went through that twice basically with two different crews of being in Tokyo for a month. I mean, we had 6 guys working on, like, just responsible for all the robos on that show. And I mean, you got to quickly assess everybody's skills and knowledge and just how they work. And then, I mean, if most people have been doing this for a while, which like a show at that level, most people have, you kind of gel pretty quickly hopefully. And for that specific crew, I feel like we all were very skillful in different ways, and we each had our strong points, and everybody was kind of, it made that team just kind of mesh quickly and easily. But then at the end, yeah, like you said, like when you're leaving, it's just like, I mean, we're in a different country and everybody lives all over the world, and then it's like at the end, it's like, all right, see ya. And then it usually ends with like, I'll see you on the next one. And then you do, and like some of those guys that I was with, I saw when I did the US Open, like a week after that. And it's, like that was even a whole different team. That's like, we had like 20 different people. So there's a lot of different personalities, egos, or whatever that you kind of, you can feel, especially with a crew that size, you kind of maybe sector off a little bit with who you get along with better. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it. You can tell quickly who you can be, not like partners with, but who you mesh with more, and then you kind of gravitate towards them, whether it be like eating with or whatever, and like all that kind of stuff. And then yeah, so I mean, I don't think it. The more I do it, the easier it is.
It becomes. And by the way, Frank's being extremely conservative and modest because that job he had in Tokyo and whatever happened to be the Olympics.
Yeah.
And the 6 cameras were covering the golf event. So just
which, if you want to know more about that, there is another show that we do on location where Joe and I do go through that entire whole gig.
There absolutely is. Gloss, what does it take for you to become really attached to a project? What do you feel when it's complete and everybody walks away? I mean, how is it personalize it?
Yeah, well, I think number one, like we've been talking about, it's the people. If you like the people you're working with, it makes being on set for well, especially with Frank being there for almost over a month. If you don't like the people, you're gonna dread going to work every day, and you can't wait for it to be over. On the other side of that, if you love who you're working with and it's a bunch of creative people who you get along with, and those are your people, then it makes going to work so much easier, and you actually enjoy the project and the work that you're doing. And I think that goes for really anything. It's like I'm going to build off what Frank said. It's like going to a party and not knowing anybody. And when you're at a party, you kind of see who you want to talk to, who is going to be interesting, who you actually want to be with at the party and have a good time with. So you kind of gravitate towards those people. So yeah, it's definitely the people for me. And when you leave and it's someone who you didn't like, then it's like, I can't wait to go to my next job. If you're leaving and it's a crew that you really enjoyed being with and working with, then it's like that, you're kind of remembering those people. You might even take their numbers. Hey, let me get you on the next job we're going to. That's kind of how you network through the business as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's both sides of it. It's a two-sided coin for sure. Double-edged sword, as they say.
Joe, you've done this for a while, and I was wondering if in these experiences, there are takeaways from these people that you just walked away from that you may have seen or may not have seen ever again, as Frank said. Are there any lessons or influences that are still remaining in your portfolio of life experiences and career experiences to this day that you've learned from maybe somebody you never saw again?
Do you mean like a gig a project that I was on that had some deep influences?
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, one comes to mind, and I mean, you all know this. It was actually a turning point in my career that I never thought I was supposed to turn. When I went from the music world into video, broadcast, visual storytelling, whatever the phrase of the day is we had done. I had written a song for Ray Charles that was about my daughter, my oldest daughter with Down syndrome. Ray did the song, and then the song, in order to get airplay, it was during the 80s. We needed MTV to come on board, which meant having a video. So we shot a music video with Ray doing the song, and that experience, that obviously it was deeply emotional for me to do what I was doing. Having someone, Ray and myself, we had been friends. Ray was like a mentor for me for years. But having him take that song and do it, and then do the video, and then being involved in the video, which I had never done before, and all the people that were involved that came from the video world, kind of embraced the show like it was theirs. And I learned a lot. I learned a ton that I wasn't expecting to learn. So I always look at that as probably the moment. It transitioned my world. It broadened my world. It didn't even transition. It broadened it because I never left the music side. But there were just so many lessons learned, not the least of which, Ray Charles himself is just was an unbelievable human being to be around and to learn from. So that was it. That's my moment.
That's a pretty big moment. And I think the lesson is that when the gigs are over, you really don't just leave empty-handed. You can leave with many things. Yeah.
No, none of that. Even though, I'm sorry, Lou, but yeah, everything we've all been saying, the physicalness of it, but the learned lessons, the relationship, the human growth, all of that stays with you and becomes part of that fabric that you become, or you just disintegrate and don't do it anymore. If you don't learn from it, you're not going to grow from it.
Right.
Ooh, great phrase. Write it down. Somebody write that down.
Got it.
Nice.
Frank, I'm going to go to you and ask you to share the opposite side of that story. Was there a gig that couldn't end fast enough that you felt like, oh my God, I'm getting nothing out of this. Just let me get paid and get the hell out of here?
I don't know if there's like a specific time where I really felt like that. And if because I have like two different worlds of my own career, which is like, there's local work that I do, a lot of local sports and like stuff like that, which are just games or studio shows around here. And then there's like the whole travel side of that. I like traveling. I like doing all that. I mean, there's definitely times that towards the end, if it's like something really long, it's not necessarily that I don't want to be there anymore. It's just that like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go home, and like maybe sleep in your own bed if you're on the road for that long of a time. But like I said, I enjoyed doing that stuff and meeting new people and being out on the road like that. For local stuff, sometimes it's just like, oh man, like if I'm like dreading going, because it's more that the fact, I guess, that it's just routine for me. It's not as like challenging or like thought provoking or anything like that, or it's just something that I'm not going to be really, I know I can't be too like creative on. Or if it's just like a regular studio show that we're doing, like a post game show or something like that, it's kind of just going through the motions for me. So like that sometimes, yeah, it could just be like, all right, I'm just kind of here, do the show and it's over with. Or if I just like, I don't really want to be here, I'm just here so I can, yeah, like you said, kind of collect a paycheck and then go home.
And you're lucky because you're local and you can just go home. You're not halfway around the world.
Yeah.
So, Glaz, I want you to take the opposite viewpoint and share with us, not the kind of, I want to walk away from this, I can't wait for this to be over, but when you finally get that gig and you walk on and you get that job and you get that feeling, and the feeling is like, man, I hope and wish this gig can last forever. I mean, what's that like and why?
Yeah, it's a great feeling because not only are you enjoying your work, and it doesn't make it feel like work, but you're also in an environment and surrounded by people that you enjoy. Like I always go back to the Giants. Like I'm working for Joe and for Ferro Productions at the Giants. It's one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. And going to work, I always knew that I was going to show up. Joe was going to motivate me. Frank was going to help me. I was always going to learn something. I would never go to work and come home without feeling fulfilled. Like I accomplished something, so I feed off that too. Like I need to feel like I'm doing something that's fulfilling, and And that job, I'm also a huge football fan, a big Giants fan, and I loved everyone I worked with there. So yeah, it's an awesome feeling because I wanted to go to work. I couldn't wait to wake up and go to the Giants and shoot whatever we had to do that day. So yeah, it's an awesome feeling, and it doesn't make it feel like work. It's like you're going to do something you love to do. So great
That's
feeling.
a good place to be.
Yeah.
That's a great place to be. The second topic I wanted to talk about was really a bizarre technical topic on sound and sound control. But we're not going to go into that. I'm just going to give you 2 seconds of what it was. It was an article written about this shape that it actually looks like the shutter of a camera lens, and the shape they printed on one of those printers. What are they called, Joe? I forgot it. Digital printer?
3D printers?
Yeah, 3D printers. And they put it at the end of a PVC pipe, and they played a speaker through it. And no sound was coming out the other end because they did the math somehow that this shape absorbed sound waves, and it's going to pretty much change the way sound is managed going into the future. But that's that part of the story. But what it made me think about is, because we do the shows here, and there's a lot of things that have gone on with COVID and home studios and even in the professional environment. And sound plays a big part in the environment. So, Joe, I want to speak to you about sound, not audio engineering type stuff, but more environmentally. How much does it influence? How much influence does noise have in managing it in a gig? How big of a problem or
It's
advantage?
huge. Yeah, I mean it's as critical as the visual. And noise sneaks in. Noise is it's like a leaky pipe. It has to be controlled. You can't have it. You got to get it out. And noise can come from everywhere. It can come electronically through a device. It can show up from like they were saying in the other show, dropping cables in a studio set. Recording studios are built to be soundproofed. TV studios are built to be sound qualified, meaning that they're not soundproof. So there's a lot. So noise, ambient noise, as opposed to electronic, all of those things are problematic and have to be controlled and identified quickly and eliminated. If that's what you meant. I don't even know what the question meant.
No, that's exactly it, and you answered it. The question was, what role does environmental and ambient noise play in getting stuff produced in the can correctly? And,
Okay.
and that was the answer. Frank, speaking about that, the stuff you operate and the specialty equipment you have in gear, it looks completely noisy. I mean, it looks completely mechanical. There's like train tracks and all crazy robots. You expect to hear all this stuff. Do you see people unfamiliar with the equipment being concerned that this may be too noisy?
I don't know if I've ever really encountered that.
Mm-hmm.
And like honestly, everything that we work with isn't anything that I work with at least really isn't noisy. I mean, the gears are like that's moving the actual whatever mechanical thing I am working with really isn't that noisy. Even that like the rail cam, like where you would think that it's something that's going to make, produce a lot of noise or anything. All it is a rope and a pulley and with a motor on one end that pulls it back and forth. I mean, it's really there's no noise on it. And then like the same thing with jibs at the end. It's just, there's two gears that are really moving. And then it's just the actual functionality of the camera, which isn't going to emit any noise. The only thing that like, I don't do it that much. It's more like on the side that I would, but it's usually not in a setting where you need to not have noise, which is like operating a drone. That would be the only time where it's like that's going to emit noise and it's also going to emit like wind. So if you're doing something in that setting, you can hear it. And actually, I noticed it. I forget what show it is. It was a football pregame show for maybe like Monday night. They started using a drone coming into the shots, and he actually says it because you can hear it. If you know what it sounds like, you can hear the little buzz.
Yeah.
And whoever was the talent at the time was like they were talking about the drone shot, and then they're like that little buzzing sound, like you can that's the drone coming in. Like they made fun of it, which made it
Yeah.
not trying to hide it at that point, which
Yeah.
is fine.
It was back to the old lemonade out of lemons routine, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Gloss, I wanted to talk about unwanted noise that you personally were responsible for creating. You, not anybody else, you. Or if it wasn't you, do you have any experiences of of that happening in your realm?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, accidents happen, like you're live all the time. So accidents happen. I've kicked things over. Like I think I was in it was rehearsal, so it wasn't ever live, but I was on set. It was Good Morning America, and there was like an apple box where it shouldn't have been.
An apple
And
box?
an
Apple?
apple. Oh, I'm sorry for those of you who don't know.
A big
There's a lot of
bushel of
ridiculous
apples.
terms.
I just
randomly in the studio.
hungry. I was like,
Well, I think we have a whole episode about terms that are ridiculous that we use,
Yeah,
so you can go
yeah.
back to that. But anyway, an apple box is basically it's like a little wooden box that people used to step on. It's used for a variety of different things in the studio. Used to put things on. But anyway, I was walking around. There was something that I shouldn't have been on. It shouldn't have been there. I put the Steadicam on, started flying it. I backed up. Utility, of course, the best utilities. They grabbed me, stopped me, but I still kicked it over, made a loud bang. Director, right away, instantly, what was that? Like that can't happen. Like so everyone hears it. So yeah, accidents happen. You make noise sometimes. You can't. You got to roll with the punches, as I always say. But I have a really good example, and I'm surprised Joe didn't say it. But back at the Giants, when we were producing the outside segments, we were near an airport, and every minute or like 2 minutes, a plane would just fly over, and if the talent stumbled, everyone's like, "Damn it! Now we got to go back and restart it because the plane was so loud, we couldn't shoot while it was going over." And I think we were recording like open, so basically like, "Hi, I'm Scott Glassie, welcome to Crew Call," and so it had to be quick, and there couldn't be that noise. So yeah, and when you're in a specific environment, there's a lot of things, a lot of factors. But I think Joe did a really good job of actually stopping and going and rolling through when it wasn't so bad, kind of managing how bad it was, I guess. But yeah,
I don't get it. I mean, I'm a Queens guy. Why do they build these stadiums right under airports, right, Frank? You got the U.S. Open Stadium. You got
Yeah.
formerly known as Shea Stadium, which is now what? Citi Field?
City Field.
There you go. Then you guys had the Meadowlands over there and whatnot. They always build them right under airports, but not like, I mean, like close.
Within 3 miles.
Yeah, like close.
Yeah.
Just to screw with you people. That's what it is.
just to mess with
Boss,
us.
what I thought you were gonna say was talking about. I think it was one of the first times was one of the years you were there. There was like a buzz in the that the audio guy was hearing. He couldn't figure out what it was, and then finally there was a power cable laying on the XLRs.
Oh, that's
which
right.
which that was creating that noise. And then as soon as you picked it up, it was gone, and you dropped it back on top of it, and then that's when we figured out you can't lay power cables on top of XLRs.
Didn't know that until that very moment. That's something I learned. Yeah.
There you go. Now we're going to go to the most experienced of them. Joe, do you have any great stories of noise in your
I always have great stories. I have two.
Please.
So this relates to things happen, and no matter how good you are at stuff, they're going to happen. We did a gig at Carnegie Hall. We had a major artist who was playing that night, and his keyboard synthesizer had lost memory. There's memories, and this was back in the day when things weren't on little cards. You had to actually load it from a cassette. So we had to go back in. This is on the stage. This is pre-sound check, everything else. So the place is built, ready to go. I walk in with one of my techs, and we get the keyboard up and running. And now we have to load memory back in.
Right.
It's a tape deck. And when digital sound recorded on an analog deck sounds like what used to be modem sounds when you had dial-up at your house. All this stuff is beyond, yes, it's the pinnacle of white noise and just disruptive amount of frequencies. So anyway, we're all set, we're ready to go, blah, blah, blah. I hit play, that noise starts going into the keyboard. What I didn't know is that the house sound guy had the whole system still live. So the system's hot. I hit something that is basically the worst thing you can put through a speaker at that level, which was, and all you heard was, stop.
Uh-oh.
It went super loud, super noisy, and then super stop. Carnegie Hall doesn't even need a sound system. It was built acoustically brilliant. So on the stage, you can speak and you can be heard all the way in the back. Well, reverse that for this minute. The sound guy's all the way in back of house. I'm on the stage, and as soon as the sound cuts, I hear, shit. I blew the sound system out at Carnegie Hall 2 hours before the show went up.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Oh my God.
That's
So,
fantastic.
yes, noise can be very dangerous,
Oh.
used inappropriately. And
What'd you?
yeah,
Did you just
That-
leave? Like, what'd you do after that?
He just left. He said, "That's it. I'm done. I'm out."
Sorry.
I literally just said, as quietly as he said shit, I went, yeah, sorry, dude.
My bad.
And I was like, what can we do? So I ended up, because it's New York City and we were very well connected. This was back in my early Triple S days, and we were very, very well connected into that whole scene. So I got a rental company, one of the biggest rental companies, brought gear in, blah, blah, blah. Within a couple hours, we had a sound system up, not the sound system, but because it was in that venue, you honestly could have got away with using little near-field speakers.
Yeah.
It worked. The gig went down. I spent a tremendous amount of money rebuilding their system.
So they have a little brass plaque, sound system Carnegie Hall, dedicated Joe Ferro.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about I was in the business a short time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was one of the legends in the industry at that point.
Yeah.
But, shit happens. So, Lou, can I interrupt and tell one more story?
Of course, it would be our
Okay, so
distinct honor.
so as we keep saying, we were with the Giants and we're working with the Giants. Our production company was embedded with the team in those years, and we stayed and traveled with the team wherever the team went, and everything we were gathering, all the shows we were doing, were for the networks. So here we are, set the stage. We're in Albany at training camp, and we're gathering things that we need to do for our show. One of these things happened to be a voiceover for our talent for one of the shows. Voiceovers are usually done in a soundproof booth with a microphone, and the talent just reads it. Well, there's no soundproof booths on location, and we obviously didn't travel with one. So we ingeniously decided, because of the ambient noise and the big noise, and it's we couldn't have any of that. We took 2 couches, stood them up on their ends, put the couches so it made a box, put the talent in the middle of it, dropped the microphone down, and then took a shipping blanket, one of those big, thick moving blankets, and threw it up over the top. It worked flawlessly.
That's fantastic.
And it kept everything out. So there's a lot of ways to beat noise and to beat the ambient if you kind of think a little ghetto.
That's true.
I was very young, and that's when I thought those blankets were actually sound blankets. I didn't know that they were moving blankets.
That's a great name for
I
a
would,
band.
and I always referred to them as sound blankets because
You
of
know
that.
what, Frank? In certain industries, in music, they're called sound blankets.
Right, but I'm sure like moving guys aren't saying like, we need a few more sound blankets.
No, when you go to buy them, you can't buy sound blankets. You have to buy moving blankets. All right, Lou. Sorry, back to you.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I was laughing because I think Sound Blankets is a great name for a band.
It is.
Right?
Maybe we
Ladies
should
and
start a
gentlemen,
band after we're done
I
with
heard
it.
their
Sound
cover band.
Blankets. Okay, Frank, pop quiz. If I set you up with this line, either figuratively or literally, the line is, I want you to fill in the rest of the story.
Yeah.
And the shit came crashing down.
Oh.
A noise story. I'm looking for a noise story.
A noise story.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have one specifically.
No?
No.
Okay.
I mean, and when you say came crashing down, like what?
I don't know. I mean, I was looking. This is me. I'm looking for, like, you're sitting there, you're doing your job, everything's quiet, and then all of a sudden you heard like bang, something crazy just happened, and you're like, what the hell was that? You guys are that good. There's. You are. Look, Joe shaking.
I don't
no.
know.
Ozzy, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not something that like I have like something that jumps out at me. I'm sure if I do you have one?
I have
Oh,
one for you.
actually, no. Yes. Okay. And I wonder if this is going to be the one. Oh my God. Okay. This was what, 2007? Is this the one you were talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's partially his fault.
Okay.
I would say the majority of his fault.
All right.
2007, we were coming back from London. Oh my God, the street sweeper is coming by, and it's so loud. I don't know if you can hear this.
And the shit came crashing down.
Sorry, I live in a city. Right now, we're talking about noise interrupting something, a live show. But yeah, we're coming. It was when the NFL had first went over to London. Mind you, I'm 17 at the time. This is 2007. I was still in high school, left, and he pulled me out of school to go because the Giants were playing in London. So whatever. I mean, it was the first time we're doing that, so we're covering like every inch of like the entire travel, the game, the whole journey there around London, and then making our way home. This was when we were getting back home. The Giants had won. This was London, right?
No, actually, I think we were in Jersey at that point.
No. But I'm saying that was the London trip. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
So we're getting back, and like we wanted like he wanted one last shot of like everybody just getting out of customs. We're about to go on, like everyone's going on the bus, but the whole organization, not just like the players, like the front office, the owners' families, everybody. I mean, there's like 8 coach buses probably full of the entire organization.
Yeah.
And it was just a massive amount of people waiting for all the buses and trying to get on. So I was shooting when we had came off the plane and going through customs and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end, he wanted one last shot of just like the abundance of people. And like this would be like the last thing of everybody getting home, getting on the buses. So we're outside of the airport and in like the bus terminal. And the only way to get an establishing shot, he was like, jump up on this garbage can to get height so you can see everything.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. I mean, I was no stranger to climbing around on stuff to get shots. I mean, that's what I enjoyed doing, and if it needed to be done, you do it. So I hop up on the garbage can. You remember the garbage cans that used to, I don't even know if they still do, those big metal rings, and then there's usually sand in there for people to put cigarette butts out on.
Yeah.
The loud ones.
It's a huge metal saucer, basically.
Yeah.
And as I'm getting on top of it, the garbage can was like at the bottom came to like a little round thing. As I step on it, one side, I get on top of it, starts wobbling, and I fall off of it. So I fall off of it, and then that giant ring, all you hear is like slam on the ground, giant. Everybody's heads turn. I'm laying on the ground now with like garbage and like cigarette butts basically on me, and that thing is just like whoa, for like, and everyone's like staring like, and I'm saying like the entire organization is looking at me. All the players, everybody is looking at me, laying on the ground, and we're in a concrete area in the airport, so all it is just like the noise is just bouncing and just circling around everybody. So, and I'm sure my face was like as red as the tally light, like because it was very embarrassing. And then I get up, and literally, I don't know, there's probably over 100 people all staring at me like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And then
Joe's in the bathroom already. Joe ran away. Just like, I'll let him take the.
No, he's staring at me too. Like, what are you doing, man? Why would you go up there?
And then Frank so effectively quoted his father from the Carnegie Hall days. Oh, sorry about that, dude.
Yeah.
And then the shit came crashing down.
That was immediately what came to mind.
Oh, that's a great
Because
story.
it legitimately exactly was that phrase.
That's a great
so
story.
funny.
That's a great story.
So long ago.
Hey, Glock, we had the whole COVID thing, so you with your company Urban Visuals was forced, like a lot of people were, to produce at your home studio, and you did a great job. A lot of the stuff you've done there is just absolutely amazing stuff for us and stuff you did on your own. So well done.
Thank you.
What was the biggest noise threat having to work in that environment, and how'd you overcome it? We just had one, didn't we? With the
You heard it. You just heard it. That's where we were in our home, and the street cleaning comes by. We live across from construction that's been going on for a year now. We live on a busy corner. We're right by the firehouse, so there's a lot of things. So I have a couple clients that I record a lot of voiceovers for. And here in our apartment, you can't do that. You literally can't do it here. So Frank has a closet that he's pointing at. It's a nice tight closet. There's clothes everywhere. There's not a lot of things for your voice to kind of bounce off of. And we have high ceilings here, so you can't really record a voiceover in here. It's going to be echoey. You're going to hear everything going on outside. So I would take my mic setup, kind of similar to what I have right here. I would put it on a light stand. I would take my recorder, attach it, it would go into Frank's closet, and then I would have my script there, and I would read my voiceovers. And it worked perfectly because, like I said, you're in a closet with not a lot of places for audio to bounce off of, so you get very nice, high-quality audio. So yeah, I just scrapped together a sound recording studio out of Frank's closet, and the rest is history, as they say.
Well, first of all, I have a little tip. I don't know if you guys have been on B&H recently, but I don't know if you saw the new Joe S. GSB, the
No.
Get Out Sound booth. It's 2 couches and a
GSB.
and a blanket. Get one. It'll work.
That's a Ferro Productions product, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe S.'s GSB, Get Out Sound booth. Guys, that's all the
I'll have
time.
to pick
Oh,
one
Joe,
up.
do you have
Wait,
something?
Lou,
Yeah,
before
go.
you move, there's a really big point here that needs to be made.
Go.
These guys aren't audio guys, but yet they understand. Like Frank said, it's a concrete area and it's bouncing all over the place. Glass said, oh yeah, I go in there because it's a lot of material and there's no room for sound because I can't do it in here. These are things that you need to expand. Everybody, you think, oh, I'm not an audio person, I don't need to know that. You need to know everything. And you need to have a derivative sense of how things work. You don't have to be a master, you don't have to be an expert, but you truly do need to understand, some basic physics of things, basic concept of things, basic ideas of lighting, sound, camera. You're going to work in this industry, you truly, 100% need to know that. And I say this industry, I'm talking music, theater, television, gaming, all of those things, production in general. You need to have a sense of all of that. And I'm sitting here so proud that these guys have a deep understanding of what they're doing, and they go in their closet to do voiceover.
It's not the only thing I go in there for. It's still Frank's clothes all the
I hope
time.
that's the only reason you're in my closet.
I might be in there right now.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lou.
No, I'm enjoying the closet talk here. This is fantastic. Closet's stealing Frank's clothes. Frank's in the closet. Joe's got his ghetto sound booth. We're all set. But you know what, Joe, you said it really well, and it's a great way to wrap up the show. And it's that you've got to have an understanding of the fundamentals, at least an understanding or a working knowledge of it. And you can get a lot of that on FerroCity.com. Go check it out and see what we've got there and what we have to offer. It's a world of enlightenment. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Scott, Joe, Frank, excellent job. Thank you. I had a great time, and I will see everyone next time.
All right. Later.
All right, Lou. Take care. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Lou.
Bye.